Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the Guitar Underground. I'm your host, Neil Santos, creator of the Pentatonic Way, host of the Guitar Underground, and organizer of the Guitar Improvisation Workshop over on Meetup. Today, we're going to talk about guitar courses. If you've ever tried a bunch of guitar courses and you still don't feel musical, then this episode is for you. If you feel confused after learning more, then this episode is for you. It's not about calling anyone out. It's about explaining why confusion is so common. You know, I'm not calling you out for not understanding it. I'm not calling guitar courses out for delivering it improperly. I mean, everybody does it differently, and everybody understands and learns in a different way. So some of these courses are built around one person. Some are built around a bunch of different artists and instructors. You know who they are. I won't name names. Not that they probably care what I say anyway. So yeah, today we're going to do that. We're going to check out 5 ways guitar courses can overcomplicate the learning process and 5 practical tips to cut through the overwhelm. All right. By the end of this episode, listeners, you will understand what actually helps things click. All right. So yesterday, I'm recording this on February 12th, but yesterday, February 11th, was actually National Guitar Day. And did you pick up your guitar? I did. I was able to for a little bit. And it was fun. Had a good time, as I usually do. Actually, I also officially launched a meetup. And I don't want to get too into this. I want to get to the topic, but I'm excited about it. I want to tell you guys about it. It's called the Guitar Improvisation Workshop. And it's remote, so you can join and attend from anywhere. And we meet up every week. We have a weekly challenge. We jam. And then at the end of the week, actually the beginning of the week on Monday, we meet up and look at everybody's submissions, the video submissions that they send in of them jamming over the track. And we hang out, talk about it. I give some feedback. People cheer each other on. It's a beautiful thing. We've been doing it for over 2 years now. And now I'm just opening up to the meetup community because I think the more the merrier. Let's just get everybody in there and everybody can benefit. So, you can check that out if you want. I'll put it in the show notes. I'm not sure if you don't belong to Meetup, if you can't see it, but either way, I'll share it, see what happens. I'd love to have you there. All right, enough of that. Let's get into 5 ways guitar courses can overcomplicate the learning process. And I may or may not have been guilty of some of these in my decades of teaching, and learned my lesson, hopefully. But number 1, too much information arrives too early. All right, like beginners are given advanced concepts before the fundamentals feel natural. And yes, I'm absolutely guilty of this. Back when I would teach in-person lessons, if I had learned something cool, I would want to teach it to everybody. I'd be like, look at this tapping thing. I'd be like, do that. And they're like trying to do open chords and stuff. And I'm like, well, this will probably help you too. Yeah, I learned my lesson there. There's a specific order to go in. You have to, there's a tutorial, like in a video game. You have to go through these certain things before you can just jump into the game and play. And you have to walk the student through those. So yeah, my bad. But they all went on to do great things. Also, I did this prior when I had the first version of the Pentatonic Way. I'd show them the pentatonic scales, and then I'd get right into like, all right, now we're going to like chord solo with them. You're going to switch. Now in that position, play the first shape. Now play the third shape, and highlight that chord. Now you're going to play the fourth shape. And people are like, what? I missed something. Some people would get it because they already kind of knew, but other people, when I got feedback, it was like, I think there's a step missing. And I was like, you know what, you're right. So I went back and I adjusted it. And hopefully, all these courses out there, they have some sort of feedback loop that they can grab information from students and get that missing step filled in, because it's important. There is a progression that needs to be followed, so to speak. And once you get to a certain point, then it's more like you can pick your own path, go on side quests and stuff. But like there is like, how do you put your fingers on the guitar? How do you play open chords? Bar chords, right? Once you can do that, then you're kind of on your own. Like if you don't want to solo, you don't have to. You could just learn songs and sing, play guitar to accompany yourself. You could write songs. You could learn some riffs, just play rhythm. Or you can get into lead playing and different styles of music, whatever, like whichever direction you want to go in. But up to that point, you really need to get the fundamentals down, So that's number one. Number two is everything's presented as equally important, right? Almost the same thing. There's no clear priority, so learners don't know what to focus on. That's similar. Yeah, I think that depending on what stage you're at, there are things that are more important, right? And we talked about it before, like if you're just learning chords, like G and D, maybe the next thing isn't learn another chord real quick. Maybe it's just really solidify switching between those chords or picking a... So that way you're kind of getting that mastered before you add another thing, or, like I said, like if they're just doing open chords and guys like, oh, check out this cool tapping lick, they're going to be like, okay, that's important too. Okay, now you have to learn about harmony and you got to learn this and that. And it's just too much coming at you at once. So you need to prioritize because music is a big thing. And yes, it's all connected in the end. It's all comes back to the hub of music, but not everything needs to be learned right now, and you need to prioritize things. So that's number two. Number three, courses reward completion, not understanding, right? Like that looks good on paper or on the website where you're clicking, I completed this lesson, but your confidence doesn't grow when you're away from it, the paper or the computer, and you're just playing the guitar. Like, have you internalized them? Have you internalized it? I feel like I felt this way at Berklee in a way, a lot of times. Like it was like drinking from the fire hose. When you're there, for me anyway, a lot of the concepts were new and there was just like so much information coming at me. And I would take the test and I'd be like, okay, I got it. I understand it for that much time that I can get the test done. Then I'd have to go on to another class and a new semester and a new year. And I made it through the whole thing. But it wasn't until afterwards when I graduated and I started teaching guitar on my own to students, opened my own studio, that I really started to process all of this information, like, oh, that's what they were talking about this, or what did they say about that? And I'd break out my book. I kept all my books and I'd go through like, oh, yep, okay. You don't have time when you're in the midst of it to revisit stuff again and again and solidify that knowledge, So, just checking off boxes and saying you got it, it doesn't make it appear on your guitar neck or whatever. So that's another thing. You need to have time to really absorb it. I love that word. Sorry. Cool. So that's number three. Number four is sometimes exercises replace music instead of leading to it, right? I've taken a lot of courses. I took an Artist Works course with Paul Gilbert, and he's amazing. But, a lot of a lot of exercises and playing and stuff. And Paul's an amazing guitar player and teacher too. I love him. He inspires me so much. But if I think of a course that's built around exercises, because he's known for being such a efficient, amazing technical player, his course was built around that. And maybe you joined, like I did, to be like, oh, I want to be able to play like that. But that's not really going to improve your musicality unless you apply it to music and you understand where that links up to music as opposed to just a physical activity. It's where sports meets art, right? That's why I love guitar, because there's a sports part to it, a physicality and exceptionalism or whatever, and an elite performer. And then you have an artist where now there's no wrong answers, and now you're kind of, it's all about your taste and your vision, and you combine them both, and that makes music, which is fantastic. But you can't have one without the other, or else you're just jogging or something. I don't know, with no destination. You're not in a race, and sometimes that's cool, but not so much for art. You know what I mean? Not if you want to create something, and something like that. I don't know where that analogy went, but I hope you understand what I mean. Number 5, there's no simple system to tie everything together, right? Knowledge stays scattered instead of connected. And some courses are better at this than others. Some courses you go in and it's just a bunch of videos and different players and stuff. It's kind of just like pick your own path right from the start. Like, all right, where do I go? It's overwhelming. Some courses have a pretty good roadmap where they say, all right, start here, and you can already do this, just keep progressing. And then eventually, like I said, you get to a point where then it's like, all right, now you can just kind of branch out and get more unique in what you learn, more like focused on your interests, right? And I did that when I did Pentatonic Way. Once I put that middle part in, now it's like a journey, and you can go right through each course from I've never played the pentatonic scale to now I can play them in very advanced ways using techniques that are a little obscure and maybe not known to use those. And now, from a beginner to a master of pentatonics. That's where I try to get people. But some courses don't have that, right? So that can be confusing and overwhelming. Cool. So there's 5 reasons that courses can overcomplicate the learning process. Where's my whammy bar? I don't have a whammy bar in this one. Oh, well. Cool. Time for the low-pressure commercial. This is exactly why Pentatonic Way is built around simplicity. Instead of throwing more information at you, it gives you a clear path, a supportive community, and built-in accountability so you don't feel like you're doing this alone. The goal isn't to overwhelm you, it's to help things finally click. If that sounds like a better way to learn guitar, you can learn more at pentatonicway.com. And I'd like to invite you to come hang with us every week, too. We have a good time, so I think that you would like it, and that's why I mentioned it. But if not, that's fine, too. Cool. Now, let's get into 5 practical tips you can use to gut through the overwhelm. So, number 1, choose one core concept and stay with it, right? Depth creates confidence, not width. Like learning a bunch of things on the surface level, that's not going to build any confidence. You need to dive deep into one thing. I remember one of my roommates at college, Pedro Arevalo, a great guy. He mentioned once to do, It's okay to do a bunch of stuff, but you should always be able to do one thing the best. Be the best at that one thing. And I think I always took that to heart, stuck in my head, and I like that. And when I had to pick, I picked the pentatonic scale. I figured you get the most bang for your buck. You can do everything with it. So that's what I did. But that's not what you have, you don't have to do that. Yours could be chords. Yours could be voicings. Yours could be odd meters. Anything. Songwriting. Finger picking. Arranging tunes for finger picking. Tuck Andrews style, all the different parts. It could be ska rhythm. It could be whatever. Fill in the blank. You know what you're interested in. Or it doesn't have to be that whole broad thing. You if I'm interested in this, ska rhythm or reggae, I have to get good at this. I know I need to get good at this one thing. So really just focus on that technique, really get good at that. That's like your thing. You got the tightest skanking around, Now you're getting somewhere. Once you kind of get that, then work on something else, Maybe it's your backup singing. Who knows? But instead of just flitting from one flower to the other, dive into eat a whole flower. I don't know what the rest of that analogy is, but that's the idea. You should really check to see if the flower is poisonous before. I can't legally say to go eat a flower. Someone might. So don't, consult with a doctor before eating flowers. Number 2, ask why before learning what's next. Because understanding beats accumulation, right? And this goes with in-person lessons too. If a teacher is like, here, learn this, Paul Gilbert, this is a cool exercise. Like, okay, cool, I got that. He's like, all right, learn this one. But what about this one, Mike? Tell me more about that. Where can I use it? What scale is it from? What styles does it fit into? Can I move it around the neck? Can I move it into different modes? Ask why. Like, what is it about this that fits? Where else can I play it on the neck? Is there octaves? That's the idea. Try to really understand what you're playing, so then you can be intentional with it. And sometimes that's tough, especially with online courses, because they're all typically pre-recorded, and you just go in and you serve yourself, self-serve videos. So that's something that might be a challenge. Sometimes you can reach out to somebody, but not in the pentatonic way, because you can ask me every week. And also just reach out through the forum. That's the benefit of a smaller membership, right? This boutique. I'm there for the members all the time. It's not thousands and thousands of members and thousands of players. It's more like a little community. So, but if you're live with somebody, one-on-one lessons, that applies. Just ask why, always. In life, too. If someone tells you something is the way it is, you better be asking why the next question. That's just the way it is. Well, why is it like that? Push back, man. Stick to the man. That's what we're about. Guitar Underground. Rethinking everything. All right. Number 3. Turn every exercise into something musical. Right? If it doesn't sound like music, reshape it. So with this idea, I keep going back to it. You get stuck on one idea. When I was first coming up learning guitar, I loved all those old Van Halen records, and I had rediscovered them. It was 1988. Surfing with the Alien just came out, Passion and Warfare. But I started listening to Van Halen. He was my man. I listened to everything. And on every album, he had a instrumental kind of based on a technique. And I love that. And this reminds me of that. You had, Eruption had a bunch of techniques, but he had that whole composition. forget how it goes. That's not it, is it? It's like, I forget exactly. I'm a bad guitar player if I don't know Eruption. Not that I can't play it, but I don't remember it. And that's sacrilegious. But anyway, that's based on tapping. And then he had like Spanish Fly, which was about like, do this thing or whatever. Or he had Cathedral, that was all about the swells, with the delay. So he would find a technique like this, and then he'd create a composition around it. So maybe if you were doing something with this, I don't know. Try to come up with something else. Like, where else can I play that? How can I move that around? Not only is that going to make you more musical, it's going to extend what you can do with that one technique and, expand your brain, stretch out your imagination. Like, what else can I do with this? Like, you don't have to keep it. What if you did? That's the same thing, but just like really stretched out. I'd have to practice that a little bit. I don't know. It sounds pretty cool. There's something there. Yeah, that's the idea. Turn every exercise into something musical. And yeah. Next, number 4, limit practice options on purpose. Fewer choices leads to better focus. You're better able to dive deep, like we were saying, if you pull everything back in, right? And this could apply to everything. Like I was saying, just do the G and the D and just practice that. Focus on, I remember, I think it was Mick Goodrick, saw a workshop with him talking about improvising and practicing it. And I think he said, just one time over a jam track, play the whole backing track and just like, I'm just going to practice ascending licks. Like going from G to D, say that's a backing track, and you just play in G to D to D, G, and then go back down like a typewriter, ka-ching, and then start all the way back up. So that's a way to, limit what you're doing to just say, I'm just going up. I'm just going to practice all these different pathways going from D to G up the neck and then maybe a descend or whatever, It doesn't have to just be, I'm just going to practice these scales or just this backing track. You can get really granular. How many ways can I just go right in one spot on the neck and then move it up or whatever? Be imaginative. You know what you need to work on as a player, and be truthful to yourself and know what you need to work on. Know what you don't know what you're not good at. And that's where you focus that energy on and really, advance. All right. Final one, number 5, follow a system you can trust and stick with it. Consistency beats novelty every time. So novelty's fun. You see a lick online, you're like, oh, I'm going to play that. That's cool. But in general, try to have one thing like that you're always working towards, right? Like I speak of sometimes setting goals for each season. In this season, I'm going to practice getting better at minor 2-5-1s. This is what I'm actually working on. So, I like finding other licks. I saw a cool lick the other day and I was learning it. But then I was like, all right, in general, I'm always kind of going back to like 2-5-1s and just working them around the neck, changing keys, saying, all right, I'm going to try to just, find these every place I can and be quick at it. And then next season, maybe try something else. Or like the pentatonic way, all right? So that has the system where you learn the pentatonic scale, and then you learn how to play it all over the neck, one scale for every chord. like for all the chords, and then one scale for each chord, and then superimposing different scales for each chord, and then dominant scales, and then applying it to like other, strange ways. That's a system that's laid out, and that's what I trusted. I said, I'm going to just focus on the pentatonics, and I'm going to see how far I can go with it and learn everything I can about that. And that became the system I used to understand the neck. There's other systems out there, there's like a ton, some based on like diminished chords, some are on all the modes, This is one that made sense to me, so I stick with it. So you find a system you trust, maybe from a teacher you trust or something out there that makes sense to you, and just stick with that. You can, learn random licks here and there, but as long as you have a tight, foundational system, you can always apply it and stick them on, like additions to a house. And it's still going to make sense, and that's the way that you can make sense of it all. So that's the idea. I hope that helped. Hopefully, guitar doesn't feel complicated anymore when you're going through other people's courses. If you want to try my course out, you can do it for 14 days free. Check it out. I think you really like it. I think I put a lot of work into it. It's been around for a long time. I really refined it, like I said. And you can come hang out with us. And that's something that's unusual in this world. Trying to build community, right? Before we all start sort of surrounded by robots. Some real world connection, even if it is online. I'd like to have you there. But let's say if guitar has ever felt complicated, it's not a failure. It's a sign you were given too much too soon. So just feel relieved and have permission. You have my permission to simplify what you're doing. And I think it's really going to benefit you. I know when you pay for a course, you want to make sure you get everything you can out of it. But these things take time, So if you can sign up for an annual membership, I think you get your money's worth. You get a break on these things, no matter who you join. But it's not like you're going to join for a month and get everything out of it. It takes time. So that way it might save you some money. And then you have a commitment. You have some skin in the game, right? If you don't have skin in the game, what's the difference? If you show up or not, or if you put in the effort. If you're just on YouTube watching random videos, it's free, but it's just random videos. There's no help there. There's no system, clear path, right? So if this episode helped you, make sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss a future conversations like this, a conversation with myself. I'm inviting guests on soon. I'm reaching out. I want to interview some people. I think that'll be fun. But for now, it's just me talking to myself. Actually, I'm talking to you, and I appreciate you listening. And reach out in the comments. Let me know what you think. What's your experience with guitar courses? I want to know. And I will talk to you later. Keep on picking. All right. Bye-bye.